Hello, my name is Steven and I'm a barista. And today we will be reviewing this coffee product, the Timemore Sculptor 078. This is a filter specific coffee grinder, does not grind for espresso. So if you're interested in this form factor, but for espresso, then I would recommend checking out the other model, the 078S, which does. Okay, so today is gonna be a little bit different. I'm going to brew a cup of coffee while I talk about this grinder. And hopefully, by the time I'm done, the review will be done too. Today I'm gonna be using, of course, the Sculptor, the 078. I'm gonna be using Timemore's Fish Smart Kettle, their Black Mirror Nano Scale. We're gonna be brewing on an origami dripper. This is the ceramic, size small, matte black, if anyone cares. Some background. Timemore did not send me this. Like 10,000 plus other people, I saw it on social media and backed it on Kickstarter. This grinder sells at a price of $800 and the Kickstarter price was $500, an incredible deal. Some short facts, backed March 2023, the campaign ended in May. The 078S, 064, and 064S units started shipping in July of 2023, and the 078, of course, shipped out later. I received mine in February of 2024. So I've had this grinder for almost a year. And there were four things that initially drew me to the 078. The first is that it was Timemore's first electric grinder. At that time, they'd been well known for their scales and for their hand grinders. They were minimal, clean designs, they were solidly built, and they were reasonably priced. So they had already established a foothold as a very popular company among specialty coffee enthusiasts. So people were excited to see what their first electric grinder would be like. Reason number two, it looks cool as hell. Still does. Reason number three, the 078 is a filter coffee only model. Kind of like this grinder that is standing right next to it, which is backwards because the cord isn't long enough to have, anyway. This grinder next to the Sculptor is the Fellow Ode, and this is Fellow's first coffee grinder, also a filter only coffee grinder. And I've had a lot of success with the Fellow Ode. And so I thought to myself, I like this, I'll love that. And the fourth reason was probably one of the earliest reviews that I saw on the 078, and that was from Lance Hedrick, who managed to get his hands on one before the campaign had even ended. And he heralded it as the new best value for money filter coffee grinder, and for some, a filter coffee end game.
On filter, I think it kills everything else.
And so I was locked in. So I backed it and I was really excited. Just so you know, we're doing a simple recipe, 30 grams in, 500 grams out. And just to give you an idea of how quiet this grinder is, very quiet. Here we go. Since this grinder came out, there's been so much hype around it. There's been so many people saying so many good things. And it was a few new reviews recently that came out that prompted me to want to make this video. And while this grinder certainly isn't new, I want to say it's just now old enough for some of those longer term reviews to start coming out. And I've seen a ton of YouTube videos, read a lot of Reddit threads, and from what I can tell, this is an incredible grinder and people really love it. So I'm having a bit of trouble understanding why I hate nearly every cup of coffee that I brew with it. Yeah, probably not where you thought I was going with that.
This has a lot of juiciness. Juiciness. Juicier.
Juicy. It's this word that I keep hearing get thrown around whenever this grinder is mentioned. And it's this one word that has made me second guess every single cup that I've brewed on the 078. I have not been experiencing that sensation in quite the same way. When I brew coffee with this grinder, there is a characteristic body to the cups. There is a thickness, yes, but juicy to me is more like murky or cloudy or even foggy. There is such a sensation, there is such a taste, and it has that intensity, but I just don't find it pleasing. And I've had great cups of coffee that I would describe as being juicy. And to me, these cups, they're not that. To offer some analogies, I'm brewing on a origami with a Kalita Wave paper filter. And I could run this through another paper filter, and yet the resulting coffee would taste as if I'd had brewed it on a French press. It's like you've gone into a diner and you've ordered orange juice, expecting no pulp, but you were served full pulp orange juice. And sometimes, for some strange reason, the pulp in the orange juice seems to have come from a grapefruit. I have tried, yes, light roasts, medium roasts, dark roasts, washed process, natural process, anaerobic process. I've tried different ratios, different recipes, different temperatures, different water profiles, different brew methods, different brewers. They all share that same characteristic juiciness that I don't enjoy and would actually use as a euphemism for what I do experience. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and let that cool for a second. I have found reviews and thoughts on this grinder ranging from extreme satisfaction to only slight buyer's remorse, and only on the concept of diminishing returns coming from slightly lower priced grinders like the fellow Ode, but still returns nonetheless. Like, I have had real trouble finding reports of other people that do not enjoy the coffee brewed on this grinder. But that's the thing. Objectively speaking, these aren't bad cups of coffee. 99% of people probably do genuinely love this grinder. You know how some people like cilantro, but for others, it tastes like soap? Maybe it's like that. I love cilantro. Wait. Okay, you know how some people love beer, but for others it makes them gag? I hate beer. But to a lot of people, beer is delicious. And it's not that they're tasting something different, it's that the way they taste is different. They simply have a different palate. So maybe there's other people out there like me that have a slightly different palate. I don't want those people to spend $800, sight unseen, taste untasted, and come to regret it later. And that's the purpose of this review. While I try this coffee, I want to walk you through some of the pros and cons. And every element of this grinder has things that I both like and dislike about it. So we're not going to go over these in any particular order. Build. Build is kind of insane. It's just this solid tower of metal, and I love it. And it has this just minimal industrial design. It's so solid. It's really heavy. The sound, it is so quiet. And when it is grinding the coffee, the most important thing about this grinder is the nature of the sound. It grinds coffee in such a pleasant manner. Like the way it sounds when it's grinding coffee. I'm just gonna have a sample for you now. The cord on the back is detachable, which is a lovely choice. The adjuster, I like that it comes off magnetically. It's heavy. The clicks are, they're nice, but they're not quite as like clicky as I'd like them to be. Yeah, the catch cup, just like thick metal, solid, a nice weight to it, great feel. You can tell it's like really well built. I like that it goes there magnetically. It feels like the magnet on the bottom could be slightly stronger. I would prefer the catch cup if it was shorter and wider. And also because it's so tall, sometimes it hits the knocker on the bottom when I'm putting it in, like it clips it. The knocker, so this is a fines catch. You grind the coffee, coffee comes through, it collects the fines, and so then you would dump your dose into your brewer, you'd put it back, and then you'd knock the fines out, and then toss those. I found it works really well. One spray of RDT with this is enough to eliminate most static. The one thing that I wish on the white model, the knocker is stainless steel. It's unpainted. And I wish they'd kept that with the black version too, because the button is still silver. I think it would match a little better. The hopper. I like the plastic, the smoky plastic. I like that this is like a magnetic thing that slides, but it doesn't slide out smoothly. Like it gets caught on one of the magnets as it's coming out, and it's kind of just hard to... One of the magnets is like built in, it's covered, and then the other is exposed, which is weird. I like this little anti-popcorn plate. Does it work? Absolutely not. I like the way it looks. I have trouble grinding any dose of coffee on this without it shooting 2 or 3 or more of the beans back at my face while I'm doing so. After this grinder came out, people on Etsy started to sell aftermarket hoppers that were taller, had different designs, and then Timemore started selling their own on their website, and they're available and you can buy them. But I would argue that this grinder does not work without that hopper extension. The RPMs, do I think RPM control on a grinder is nice? Yes. On this grinder, in my opinion, for my palate, it's useless. That intensity, that thickness, it kind of just gets dialed. Any of the other flavors that might have been present at lower RPMs just kind of get washed out. Like the whole thing just gets oversaturated. The other thing is that when you increase the RPMs, you increase the deadliness of the beans shooting out at you. You probably noticed that when I prepped my dose, I split it between the Sculptor and the Ode. When you try cups of coffee side by side that have been ground on both of these grinders, the texture of cups on the Sculptor, it's so high that cups of coffee on the Ode taste a little bit empty. And so what I have done to remedy my own palate is to kind of split up the dose, grind half on the Ode, grind half on the Sculptor, and combine them. And so I can take advantage of that increased body and thickness and use that in other grinders where there might be more clarity and more separation of flavor. And so I can get a more balanced cup by doing that. Again, objectively speaking, these are not bad cups of coffee, and I do think many other people would enjoy them. I just don't. I like the coffee from other grinders more. If I had to compare these two grinders, I enjoy the fellow Ode with the Gen 2 brew burrs way more than I enjoy the Sculptor. I'm probably gonna sell this. Now, I would love to try coffee brewed on the 078S. All I'm probably looking for is just a more traditional burr geometry. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I will do my best to get back to you. The next product that I'm gonna review is the Manta Brew Weighmaster scale. It's already beeping at me. So look forward to that. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.